Now here's a thing, because I've done a little bit of rewiring behind the dash, I thought I'd test that some of the things that I had interfered with still worked. And one of those things is the electric water pump. Let me spin you around. So the electric water pump sits just here. And this is because the AJ30 engine doesn't have a built-in water pump. Even originally it was a separate bolt-on thing. So I've now got a separate electrically powered thing. And it was it working or was it not? Hard to tell really. So I thought I'd switch it on, listening for clicking noises. Listen for clicking noises as it came on, all that type of thing. Nothing. And eventually I discovered that the fuse was blown. Now even that was not totally obvious because the voltage at the pump still showing like 1.5 volts or something. But I've got one of these LED fuse boxes with an LED warning light on, and what happens is that even when the fuse is blown, it still passes a voltage through. So you can't, there's not enough voltage to actually power anything, but it's still there. So, okay, put a new fuse in there. It was set to 5 amps, which, as you know, probably is just about the lowest fuse you can get, and pretty confident that the water pump takes more than that. But how much does it take? So right now I've got one that's 15 amps in there, just to see what happens. Round again. So in the background over there you can see a ammeter or multimeter in ammeter mode, and here on the management system I can switch on, just doing it the easy way, switch on the water pump with this test mode here called test on. And if I zoom in there, which I'm just about to do, how much current does the electric water pump take? Here it gets going. It's louder than I remembered it being. It's a bit like a washing machine going. Perhaps that's not surprising. Well, there it is. It's taking just under 7 amps. Well, yeah, about 7 amps to be honest. Well, that to me, considering that's just normal running conditions, to me maybe 10 amps would be okay, but I'm quite comfortable with 15, which is actually what's in there. Now, I'm quite surprised it's as much as that, to be honest. And although some versions of this pump have got this PWM control, it appears this particular one hasn't, which is kind of annoying actually. What's a CWP 2000? Came out of a BMW, or was designed for a BMW, but even though I'm complete with BMW part numbers on it, which is over there, it does exactly the same thing. So no, not all of those pumps have got PWM control, and there is a higher version, 3000, which I guess is the one you need to do that. So yeah, maybe that's an upgrade at some point in the future. Anyway, there it is, and it's sitting there. Well, it's taking 7.5 amps now, so I won't be able to do that for very long before flattening the battery. But luckily the management system has this facility which uses, rather than just on, it use the right button on the computer, MR RPM 1. There we go. So hopefully that'll be alright, but I am surprised it was as much current as that. As part of my wiring improvements, including increasing the amount of screening in the original Jaguar wiring harness, I got some of this screened cable, which is it's got like a wire mesh around it, which covers the actual conductors, the wires inside, to protect them against radio interference, which will be induced into different wires next to each other. But the problem with it is it's really stiff. Obviously thicker than it would be if it was unscreened, and that is really quite difficult to use. Uncomfortably so, especially if you wanted to incorporate that inside a wiring harness. So hence this stuff is actually the same, but what I've done is I've removed the plastic layer, which is pretty stiff, from this, and it becomes this. But you might worry about this being exposed. It's not insulated at all. So what have I done? I've got myself a lot of heat shrink sleeving, and it's the same stuff, but now it's got basically heat shrink on the outside. It's a lot thinner, it's a lot more flexible than the original stuff, and especially if it's going to be bound into a wiring harness, this is a hell of a lot better. So I'm going to be using that for the previously unshielded part of the wiring harness, knock sensor and cam sensors in particular, possibly also the drive-by-wire throttle body, although that may come later. So here is my inlet management tract valve. Obviously it's not plugged into the manifold itself. It's upside down at the minute because I didn't think I'd better hear it working, but actual fact I probably would have been able to, because under management control, no, that's the wrong one, you can't see that one. Under management control, slow toggle, there we go. Here we go. And that's operated by, well, it's switched on the ground side, and you can hear a relay switching, which is under the dash there somewhere. And the other one, well, maybe you heard it. I'm not sure if I can do both of these at the same time. Let's see. Slow toggle. No, it can only do one of those at once. So I shall do the other one. Stop that one. And this is what I'm doing on the management screen. Looking for slow toggle. There it is. Slow toggle. And the other one that's down the back here somewhere. Right down there where you can't see it. Clearly it's doing the same thing. So now I can just simply put that back in the hole. Like that. There is a bit of an O-ring going on there, so it needs a bit of a push. Two little screws. And the next task, of course, will be to get it linked up to RPM. In fact, the system information from the original Jaguar has actually got what they used, although it works in conjunction with a VVT valve. variable valve timing, which on this engine is here. Now this is an early AJ30, so we're not quite sure whether we'll be able to get that working or not. Now we've also got some progress on board. I've turned you the... Now it still doesn't look amazingly neat, does it? But the ECU is now upside down, it's plugged in, and all the functions are connected. There's plenty of labels and plenty of connectors as well. See these little ones and this one here. And that means that this short harness, which I have, which runs from here to the ECU, is actually removable, so I can work on it. So that's nice, but it's a lot tidier. It could obviously do with being a bit further tidied. So anyway, that's where it's at the moment. Another thing that I've done is to fiddle with the intake trunking. Let's have a look at that. So here we have my non-original adapter pipe going through to a Bosch throttle body, as recommended by Motorsport Electronics. I believe it's used on a Porsche and something like 73mm butterfly. But anyway, that was there for a while. But we now have all this arrangement, which is ridiculously thick piping. All the rubber parts are obviously designed for a turbo installation. Well, maybe one day. And then down here we have a cone filter and a little bracket thing I made, which is, well, it's just there behind the horn actually, but right at the front. And what else did I do? Oh yes, the oh, need to come around the other side. We also have a better mounting for the inlet air temperature sensor, which, as you can see, has a little bracket thing. Possibly it could have been mounted within the trunking, but I wanted to make absolutely sure nothing could fall off and get sucked into the engine. And you might also think it will need to be that side, but I decided that that side and this side were likely to be exactly the same temperature. So there we have that. So that's fairly neat. If you got as far as this, thanks very much for watching. And in case you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. That would be really encouraging for me. So catch you on the next one.